There are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go pop, things that go round, with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I've come to see a very exciting vehicle. See if you can guess what it is. It carries people in it, it doesn't have wings, and it has a big piece of metal on top that spins round and round. Can you guess what it is? OK, I'll give you one more clue. It sounds like this. That's right, it's a helicopter. Noisy, isn't it? Helicopters are amazing to watch. Have you ever seen one flying in the sky? You often hear them before you see them. This bit of the helicopter is called a landing skid, and there are two of them. They're the helicopter's feet. This bit at the front is where the pilot sits to fly the helicopter. It's called the cockpit. And then this long part at the back of the helicopter is called the tail boom. And at the end of it is the tail rotor. This spins round and round when the helicopter flies, just like the big rotor at the top. This big rotor is really important because it helps make the helicopter fly. But do you know how a helicopter rotor works? Let's find out. How does it work?
A helicopter rotor.
To get a closer look at the rotor at the top of the helicopter, I'm going to use my special camera. So here we go. Let's move it right to the top. This part in the middle, that is called the rotor disc. And then these two long metal things coming out of the sides are called the rotor blades. Let's move along. They are so long, aren't they? But can you see that one edge of the rotor blade is slightly thinner than the other? I think it looks a bit like a fish, don't you? But let's move back to the middle now to look at the rotor disc. The rotor disc has lots of metal parts, doesn't it? So to understand how it really works, we need to look in more detail. On top of the helicopter is the rotor. The long blades meet in the centre and are attached to a metal pole called the rotor mast. When the helicopter engine starts, the rotor mast starts to spin round and round, making the blades spin too. Another circle of metal, called the swash plate, also spins round. It's attached to the blades by two metal poles called control rods. These rods are connected to controls inside the helicopter cockpit. To make the helicopter take off, the pilot moves a lever upwards. This moves the control rods in the rotor, which makes the blades move. When the blades are in the right position, they push the air downwards, and this allows the helicopter to lift up into the air. The pilot pushes another lever to make the rotor tilt up at the back, and this makes the helicopter go forwards. To go backwards, the pilot pulls the lever back, which tips the rotor up at the front, so the helicopter goes backwards. Clever, isn't it? Shall we see the rotor working on this helicopter? But before we fly, the pilot and I need to put our headsets on. And I'm going to be talking through this. It's called a microphone. And it might make my voice sound funny. I think we're ready to go. Watch the blade start to turn. Slowly at first. And then very, very fast.
We're just warming the engine up now, but when we're ready, Tom's going to pull the lever, which will move the blades into the right position. And when we're catching the air, we'll take off. Here we go. Wow! You can see Tom the pilot now is using the cyclic lever to tilt the rotor up at the back, and this makes the helicopter go forwards. Wow, we're so high! The view is beautiful from up here. Now we're heading to a town. The houses look tiny. They look like dolls' houses. We're coming into land now. And there we go. We're back at base. What was your favourite bit about finding out how helicopter rotors work?
Do you remember the name of the long pieces of metal that turn to make the helicopter fly? That's right, they're called the rotor blades. Did you hear the sound the helicopter made when I was standing near it? Noisy, isn't it? And did you see the way the helicopter travelled forwards when the pilot moved the lever inside the cockpit?
So now you know how the rotor on top of a helicopter works and how it makes a helicopter fly. Helicopters are exciting vehicles, aren't they? They're fun to watch in the air, but not many people travel around in helicopters. But there are lots of other vehicles, aren't there? And you might have had a go on some of them. You might have been on a bicycle, or a scooter, or maybe a tricycle. Have you ever ridden a tricycle? Tricycles are great fun. They're a bit like bicycles, except they have 3 wheels instead of 2. And that helps you to balance. Off I go. But do you know how a tricycle is made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
A tricycle.
To see how a tricycle is made, I've come here. Inside that workshop, they make lots of tricycles, some for grown-ups and some for children. Let's go see how one's made. To make a tricycle, first the mechanics open up this box. And can you believe that all the parts needed to build one tricycle fit inside? Over to you, Scott.
There are 25 parts to this tricycle, and they're all different shapes and sizes.
Can you guess what some of them are going to be? This is one of the pedals, the part you push with your feet to turn the wheels. And what about this? Well, these are the handlebars, the bit you hold with your hands. And what about this one? This is called the saddle, and it's the bit you sit on. Now all the pieces are out of the box, Scott can start making the tricycle. First, he puts 2 big red pieces of metal onto a stand. The metal pieces are called the frame, and he attaches them together. Scott hangs them up on the stand because it makes it easier to attach all the other pieces. It's like it's floating in midair.
On goes the saddle.
Next, Scott is going to put the chain on. The chain is a big loop of metal links that help the pedals turn the wheels, but this can be fiddly. So I'm going to put a special camera on Scott's head. Okay. By attaching the camera to Scott's head, we're going to be able to see what he sees when he's putting the bike chain on. Does that feel comfortable?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Now we're getting a really clear view of everything Scott is seeing. First, he's picked up the chain and looped it around that metal circle. It's called the cog. Scott joins the chain together using a chain tool. He adjusts the frame of the bike using a spanner to make sure the chain is tight. Then he tests it to make sure the chain fits perfectly and won't fall off.
Now the chain is fixed in place, the next part of the tricycle to go on are these. They're pedals.
You push the pedals with your feet to turn the chain, which moves the tricycle.
There are still quite a few pieces left, aren't there? Well, now we need the front mudguard. A back mudguard. The other back mudguard. Back basket. And the front basket. Now it's time for the front wheel, and it's attached to the frame with these big bolts. Well, you can't have a tricycle without handlebars, and these ones are great because they've got a bell on them. Listen to this sound.
Let's hear it again.
Isn't that fun? Here you go, Scott. To attach the handlebars, Scott is using a special tool. It's called an Allen key, and you might have seen a grown-up using one at home. It has a shape at the end of it. Do you know what this is? This shape is a hexagon, and it has 6 sides.
This fits into a bolt at the top of the handlebars, and as Scott twists it, it makes sure they're on really tight. Next, Scott attaches the brakes and cables.
Brakes are really important because we need them to stop the tricycle. This bit here is called the brake lever, and when we squeeze it, this cable pulls these bits of rubber onto the wheel, which slows it down and brings it to a stop, like this. Having started with all those pieces, we've got just 2 left, the back wheels.
The back wheels are attached to the tricycle and it's ready to go.
And here is the finished tricycle. What do you think? It looks fantastic, doesn't it? But sometimes the mechanics here add a few extra bits so that children with disabilities can use the tricycles too. These pedals have extra straps to help keep your feet in the right place, and this saddle has a comfy backrest and a seat belt. This is great for someone who needs a bit of extra help sitting up. And this is a handle so that a grown-up can help push somebody along. What was your favourite bit about seeing how a tricycle was made?
Do you remember what you call the special tool Scott used to tighten the bolts on the handlebars? That's right, it's an Allen key. Did you hear the sound the bell made when I pressed it?
Isn't that fun?
And did you see all the different parts of the tricycle when they were unpacked from the big box?
So the next time you see a tricycle or get to ride on one yourself, you know just how it's made. And now you know how a helicopter rotor works, just like on this one here. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I'm on a quayside. The quayside is a place where lots of ships stop to unload things onto land. How many ships can you see? 1, 2, 3 ships. Ahoy! There's a big ship coming in now.
Every day, lots of ships from all over the world bring things we use all the time, like food, furniture, and even cars.
And it arrives on enormous ships like this one in huge metal boxes called shipping containers. But how do the shipping containers get from the ship to a train so they can be delivered all across the country? I think we need something very big and very strong to do it. Let's find out.
How does it work?
This shipping container is 12 metres long. That's almost as long as a bus. But to move a shipping container this big, we're going to need a shipping crane, and they are huge. Along here, there are 15 shipping cranes, and they all help to move the containers off the ship. Look, can you see that? There's one up there. Wow, it goes so high up.
The cranes grab and lift the containers onto the quayside.
Once the shipping containers are on land, these enormous trucks called straddle cars move the containers into this area called the terminal. Just look at it! It's like a giant robot dog.
Next, a truck called a reach stacker stores the shipping containers on top of each other. It's like building a tower out of monster stacking bricks.
It is busy work. Next, we need to get the containers from the terminal over here to the rail cart that's just over there. But how are we going to do that? We need this, a gantry crane. Let's take a closer look at this one.
The gantry crane looks like a bridge sitting on two tracks, like train tracks. This part is called the cross-travel lorry. Hanging from the cross-travel lorry is the cab. This is where the driver sits. When the driver presses a button in the cab and moves the joystick, the cross-travel lorry will move forwards and backwards along the track. When the driver presses another button, the crane moves across from left to right. Underneath the cross-travel lorry, there is a big metal drum, which has 8 steel ropes wrapped around. At the end of the steel ropes, there is a special frame called a spreader, like a big crab claw. The driver unwinds the ropes and lowers the spreader over the shipping container. It fits on perfectly. The driver presses a switch which locks the spreader onto the shipping container to make sure it's safe to move. Then the driver moves a joystick to wind up the steel ropes, and the shipping container moves across and along the track. The driver presses another button and the steel ropes unwind. The shipping container is lowered safely onto the rail cart, ready to move onto the next place.
That was amazing. I've bought my special camera and I'm going to attach it to this container so we can see what it looks like when this gets lifted from here, the terminal, up and over there to the rail cart. Okay, let's go. Whoa, look at it go up. And I'm going up there to see it all in action.
Look, I've also put a special camera in the driver's cab. Can you see how high up he is?
It's like the driver's in a fishbowl in the sky, looking down at all the containers below. Can you see how the steel ropes are being wound up to lift the container higher and higher? Next, as the driver pushes the joystick forward, the container moves forward too, over there onto the rail cart. These containers can weigh about 30 tons. That's the same as about 20 family cars, but that's no problem for a gantry crane. Oh! The container is nearly on the rail cart. All it needs to do now is line up the 4 corner pins of the cart with the pins on the container. And listen carefully. Clunk as the container lands on the cart.
Brilliant. The shipping containers are now ready to be delivered across country on the back of a train. I think shipping containers are amazing. What was your favourite bit about seeing how shipping containers work? Can you remember the name of the big trucks that looked like giant robot dogs? They're called straddle cars. Did you like the sound the shipping container made as it fixed onto the rail cart? And did you see how high the shipping container went when it was picked up by the gantry crane? I wonder what's inside these shipping containers. Maybe they're full of boxes. Have you ever had a box delivered? It's exciting, isn't it? I wonder what's inside this box. Ooh. Ah, look! It's a piggy bank. But did you see how it arrived safely? That's right, it was wrapped in this bubble packaging. It's like a blanket covered in lots of tiny cushions. But each cushion is filled with air. Can you see? And it makes an amazing sound. Listen. Pop! But do you know how bubble packaging is made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Bubble packaging.
To make bubble packaging, we have to start here, in a bubble packaging factory. Here, they make more than enough bubble packaging to cover 30,000 football pitches every year. That's a lot of bubble packaging.
Bubble packaging is made from a material called plastic. We use plastic to make lots of different things, like plastic bags, shampoo bottles, and some toys.
Bubble packaging starts here, inside these huge containers called silos. Inside the silos, there are millions of tiny pieces of plastic, and they're called pellets. They look like this. Wow, that is so satisfying. Can you hear that sound?
That's the noise of the plastic pellets being sucked through these pipes as they're carried from the silos into the factory. Here, the pellets are delivered from the pipes into these tanks called hoppers, where they're held until they're ready to go and get heated up. Look, can you see the pellets falling into the hopper? This metal tube is called a screw and barrel, and inside those plastic pellets are spinning in a spiral pattern. And as they move along the barrel, they're getting heated till they're really, really hot and runny. It's warm. I can really feel the heat.
The melted runny plastic is then stretched into a thin film, which rolls out onto these metal cylinders.
You can see it just there. It looks a little bit like cling film, the stuff you wrap your sandwiches in. But how does that flat film get its bubbles? Well, this is the clever bit. And I've got my special camera so we can take a closer look. Wow.
Look, can you see how the metal cylinders are covered in little dimples? The plastic is sucked into those dimples, making lots of little bubble shapes.
Now, another layer of flat plastic is quickly put on top.
When the two layers stick together, one flat, one bubbly, the air gets trapped inside. then spun around tubes into big rolls. And sealed in plastic.
There you go. It's all bagged up. But I wonder where it's going to go next. Let's find out with my special camera.
It's going on quite a journey, isn't it?
Here you are.
It arrives in this enormous warehouse. Look at all this bubble packaging, rolled and ready to be sent out across the country. So there's only one thing left to do. Check it's got some air inside it and give it a pop. And did you know that once you're finished with it, you should be able to pop it in the recycling with your plastic bags? I loved seeing how bubble packaging was made. What was your favourite bit? Can you remember the name of the plastic bits that went into the big bins? That's right, they're called pellets. Did you like the sound of the bubble packaging popping? And did you see how the 2 layers of plastic came together to make the bubbles? So the next time you get a box delivered with something wrapped in bubble packaging, like my piggy bank, then you know how the bubble packaging was made. And now you know how shipping containers are moved from ships to trains by massive cranes. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Maddie. I'm at home today and it's nearly night time. It's getting dark outside. When it gets dark, we turn on the lights. The lights at home need electricity to work. Can you think of anything else that needs electricity? We use electricity when we watch TV, when we heat something up in the microwave, and we can even use electricity to run a car. This is an electric car, and it gets its energy from electricity to work. But how does an electric car use electricity to move? Do you know how an electric car works? Let's find out. How does it work?
Electric car.
To find out how an electric car works, I've come to an electric car centre. Over here we have an electric car that uses electricity to move. And here we've got a fuel-powered car. Fuel-powered cars use diesel or petrol to move. They might look the same, but there are some big differences. You must never play with the controls or open the bonnet of a car without a grown-up, but I've been given special permission to tell you how it works. When I turn the engine on, it makes a noise. Did you hear that? It's like a sound, isn't it? The engine is burning fuel to make energy so the car can move. But as it burns fuel, it creates fumes which go into the air and they can be harmful. This is called pollution. But under the bonnet of an electric car, I can't see in the engine. Look, there's just a space. And you can even put your shopping bags in it. But how can a car move without an engine? Whoa, look at this. It's the skeleton of an electric car. The windows, doors and the body have all been taken off. So that means we can see inside it. Can you see this large black box? This is the battery, and it's the battery that stores the electricity which is used to power the car. At the back here is the electric car's motor. It uses electricity from the car's battery to turn, and that will make the wheels turn so the car moves. Right, I think it's time we took an electric car for a drive. Now, let's switch on the electric car and see if we can hear anything. There was a little beep to tell us that the car had switched on, but now what? Nothing. There's silence, and that's because the electric car doesn't have an engine. Instead, it has an electric motor, and the electric motor doesn't make any noise. And because it doesn't burn fuel, which makes fumes, it doesn't create any pollution. Let's go. So if an electric car doesn't use diesel or petrol, how do we charge the battery to give it more energy? This is an electric charge point. You must never go near or play with a charge point, but I've got special permission to show you how this one works. To charge the car, I need one of these. It's called a charging cable. This is what we use to connect the charging point to the car. Now, electricity can flow from the charging point through the charging cable, through this socket, and into the batteries inside the car. The batteries will store electricity and use it for when the car needs to move. But how does the electricity in the batteries move the car? To find out, I think we need to take a closer look. When we switch on an electric car, electricity flows from the battery through the cables to the motor. The motor is made of two parts, the stator and the rotor. An electric current goes through metal coils. This makes a magnetic field. The magnetic field turns the rotor inside the stator. The rotor is attached to the axles of the car. And as the rotor turns, it makes the wheels of the car spin. When we move the car forward, electricity flows to the motor and the car moves. When we brake and slow the car down, some electric cars recycle the energy from braking. And the energy is stored inside the battery to be used to power the car again. That is so clever. Can you see the screen just here? It's called an energy usage screen, and it has a dial on it. The dial tells if the car is using energy to drive or recycling energy because it's braking. I'm going to go for another drive, but so you can see what happens on the energy usage screen, I'm going to put one of my special cameras on the dashboard. Now we're ready to go. Drive the car away and accelerate, the dial on the energy usage screen moves to the right. That's because it's using energy. And now the car is braking. The dial moves to the left because it's recycling energy by charging the battery. And because the car is storing energy, it can keep going for longer. How brilliant is that? I loved pointing out how electric cars work. What was your favourite part? Can you remember the name of the part of the car that stores electrical energy to move the car forward? That's right, the battery. Do you remember the sound the electric car made when I turned it on? It made a little bleep. And did you see the energy usage screen on my special camera? It moved right when I was driving and left when it was recycling energy. We may use a car if we're trying to go somewhere that's a long way away, but often if something's close by, I like to walk. I like to walk in all weathers, when it's raining, if it's a sunny day like today, and even when it's windy. We can feel the wind blowing, but do you know how wind is made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Wind.
To find out how wind is made,
I've come to the seaside.
wind is air moving all around us. It looks like there's nothing there, but air is made up of millions and millions of tiny particles called gas molecules. We can't see gas molecules with our own eyes because they're so tiny, but we can feel them as wind. Wind can do lots of clever things, like move big fluffy clouds across the sky. It can make waves on the sea. And even turn massive wind turbines, which make electricity.
We can even have lots of fun with the wind and use it to fly a kite.
The kite is noisy flying in the wind. Wind can blow in lots of different directions. To find out which direction the wind is blowing in today, I've made this. It's called a weather vane. But before the weather vane can tell today's wind direction, I need to draw each direction in the sand. Do you know what the letters mean?
That's right, this is north, south, east and west.
The arrow on the weather vane will point in the direction where the wind is blowing from. So, let's see what happens.
The wind is blowing from somewhere between the south and the west. We call this the southwest. So the wind is blowing in a southwesterly direction.
You can also make wind using a fan.
When I turn this on,
The blades spin round and round really fast, and the blades push the gas molecules in the air forward, and I can feel that on my face as wind, which is perfect to cool down on a hot day.
we can even make wind using our breath. If we breathe in and blow out hard, it makes the gas molecules we breathe out move quickly. So we can make wind, so we can blow out birthday candles. But what makes the gas molecules move around us on a windy day? Well, one of the reasons is because our planet Earth, is made up of land and sea. And it's the different temperatures of the land and sea that create wind. To show you the difference in temperature between the land and the sea, I'm going to use one of my special cameras. This is a thermal imaging camera, and it shows us how hot or cold things are.
Can you see the sea is purple? That tells us that it's really cold. Now, if we take a look at the land, can you see the difference? It's yellow and orange. That means it's much warmer. The sun heats the land up quicker during the day than the sea. But how can temperature make it windy?
The land heats up the air above it, and this warm air rises up. And we say that the area below the warm air has low pressure. The cool air above the sea doesn't rise, and we say that that has a high pressure. When the warm air above the land rises up, it leaves a space. And the cool air with high pressure above the sea can move into it. And we feel this moving air towards the land as wind. Do you remember what happens to hot air? That's right, it rises. And we can see that happening. I'm going to show you how using a glass bottle with a latex balloon that I've put over the top and two bowls. One of them is full of hot water, and the other is full of cold water. The balloon is trapping air inside the bottle, but can you see that at the moment the balloon is floppy? Watch what happens when I put it in the hot water. Look! Did you see that? The hot water is heating up the air inside the bottle, and as the air heats up, it's filling the balloon, just like the air above the land. Now watch what happens when I put the bottle in cold water. Floppy again. That's because the cold water has cooled the air inside the bottle, and the cool air has moved from the balloon back down into the bottle, just like the air above the sea. I've had lots of fun at the seaside finding out how wind is made. What was your favourite part?
Do you remember what wind is made of? That's right, gas molecules. Did you hear the noisy wind when I was flying my kite? And did you see the different colours on my special thermal camera? Orange and yellow is warmer, and purple is cooler.
So the next time you feel the wind, you'll know how it's made. And if you see an electric car, you'll know how it works. I'll see you next time.
And today I'm finding out about cars. They have loads of different parts. Do you know what this round part is? That's right, it's the steering wheel. And this part here is called the bonnet. But do you know what's underneath? Now, you should never open a bonnet without a grown-up, but I've got special permission to show you what's inside. Let's take a look. It's the car's engine. But do you know how an engine's made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Got engine.
Car engines are made here, in a car engine factory.
At this factory, they can make 1,300 car engines every day. But what's inside a car engine? Let's find out. It has 750 parts, but all engines have the same few basic parts. This is the cylinder head and the bottom section is the cylinder block. They're the main bits of the engine and they hold everything else together. Inside, spark plugs light fuel to make energy, which makes the pistons go up and down. This turns the crankshaft, which sends power to a part of the car, which makes the wheels move. And all of these parts are made from big bits of metal, like these. They're called aluminium.
Aluminium is a good metal to make car engines from because it's light, strong, and it lasts well in the cold and rain. But these don't look like cylinder blocks or heads, do they? The aluminium has to be melted in one of these. It's a furnace.
This turns the solid aluminium into a runny liquid called molten aluminium. A forklift truck then takes the molten aluminium over to a pressure casting machine, where it will be poured into a mould.
But it's quite tricky to see, so I've given my special camera to Declan, who's going to put it closer to the machine.
Look, can you see the robot arm? It's pushing the mould into the machine. The machine then presses together and the hot molten aluminium is poured into the mould. And after it's cooled down and gone hard, a finished engine block is taken out of the machine.
The aluminium has taken on a completely new shape. Now it looks like a cylinder block.
Next, the top of the engine has to be made, the cylinder head. To make the shape of the cylinder head, it has special parts that go inside and are made with a material called sand core.
Can you guess what it's made from? That's right, sand and a sticky glue that we call resin. I think this one looks a bit like a face.
The sand core is put inside the cylinder head, so when it goes into the casting machine, the molten aluminium makes a shape around the sand core before it cools down.
This cylinder head has come out of the cooling machine and it's nearly ready to go. But we still need to get the sand core out of the middle.
So it goes into this machine, where tiny rods push the sand core out. And look, all the sand core has gone and the cylinder head is full of holes.
Next, the cylinder heads are brought here to an area called machining, and there are lots of machines that drill smaller holes into the aluminium. Every time one of these robots drills or makes a hole, it leaves a little piece of aluminium, but this is called swarf, and swarf can be recycled and be used again.
But our engine still isn't finished. All the parts need to be taken to the assembly line on these little robots called AGVs.
Hi! It even sings!
As it goes along the assembly line, it's all these people's jobs to fit lots of important parts.
It's very busy.
Like spark plugs to start the engine. pistons to turn the crankshaft and the crankshaft to turn the wheels.
Every person has 44 seconds to do their job on the assembly line. So that means every 44 seconds, a brand new engine is made. And here it is, ready to be checked over and put into a car. I loved seeing how car engines are made. What was your favourite part?
Can you remember the name of the metal used to make the cylinder block? That's right, it's called aluminium. Did you hear the song the AGV played when it was driving around? And did you see the running molten aluminium being poured into the casting machine?
Wasn't that interesting, seeing how car engines are made?
And they're put into cars just like this one.
That are then delivered to garages, ready to be sold to people across the country. But do you know how lots of cars can be moved all at the same time? How does that work? Let's find out.
How does it work?
Car transporter.
Have you ever seen one of these driving around before?
This is a car transporter.
They are huge, aren't they? This one is 19 metres long and they have to be strong too. When this one is fully loaded, it can weigh around 44 tonnes, and that's the same as around 29 hippopotamuses. That's a lot of hippos. Let's count how many cars are on this one car transporter. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 cars!
That means one driver can deliver 11 cars in one trip.
But how do all these cars get onto the car transporter?
To find out, I think we need to take a closer look.
The transporter has 11 movable platforms, one for each car. The first car is driven on backwards. The wheels are fixed in place using blocks called chocks and strong straps. Each platform has hydraulic arms. Inside the hydraulic arms are tubes full of oil. When the lever at the bottom of the platform is pulled, the oil is sucked upwards inside the tube. And the oil pushes the arm up, lifting the platform. The hydraulic arms can move the platform in different directions, up, down, forwards and backwards, to make sure the car is in exactly the right place. When the first 3 cars are on their platforms, another lever is pulled. More hydraulic arms lift the 3 cars up at the same time, out of the way, ready to get more cars on. The next set of cars are driven onto their platforms. The hydraulic arms move them into the right place. And when all 11 cars are on, the car transporter is ready to go.
Isn't that brilliant? But I think we should see it for ourselves, don't you?
It's Andy's job to drive all 11 cars on board the transporter. So we can see that they go on in the right order, I'm putting some numbered stickers on the cars.
So we can see Andy moving the levers and loading the cars, I put one of my special cameras on Andy's head. OK, camera's rolling. Over to you.
First, on goes car number 1. Onto the top deck. Now Andy has to make sure it's safe and secure.
Can you hear that clicking sound? That's the ratchet on the strap, and that helps to make sure the car doesn't move around too much when the transporter's moving.
Next, on go the chocks under the wheels. Then Andy drives car number 2. And car number 3 onto the transporter.
Now the first 3 cars are on, can you remember what happens next? That's right, they all move up together.
Look, when Andy moves the lever, oil goes into the hydraulic arms that push the cars up.
It's up. The platform with the 3 cars is called the top deck. Andy's given me special permission to ride in car number 4 as he reverses it onto the car transporter. And I'm going to bring my special camera along with me. Okay, seatbelt on. Here we go. Can you hear the beeps? That means that we're reversing onto the car transporter. Whoa! We are going right over the top of the cab. Whoa! Well, that was exciting. Time to get out. Now that cars 5 and 6 are on, I'm going to film the rest with my special camera and record something called a time lapse. And a time lapse is when we film something that happens quite slowly, but when we watch it back, we can see things happening much quicker. The car number 7 is reversed on and goes underneath 5 and 6.
And next, you guessed it, car number 8.
I love seeing how the hydraulic arms tilt the decks with the cars on them.
And here are cars number 9 and number 10.
We're nearly there. And there's the last one, number 11. Now all the cars are on the transporter, we can see the special order that they had to be loaded on. 1, 2 and 3 are right at the top at the back of the transporter, and 4, 5 and 6 are at the front by the cab. And then we have 7 parked underneath, 8 and 9 are in the middle, and then 10 is parked above number 11. That's it, the car transporter is ready to deliver the cars. I loved seeing how a car transporter works. What was your favourite part?
Can you remember what it's called when Andy drives the car backwards? That's right, it's called reversing. Did you hear the sound the ratchet made when Andy secured the cars? And did you see my special camera speed up all the cars loaded onto the transporter?
So the next time you drive in a car, you'll know how its engine was made. And when you see a car transporter, you'll know how it works. See you next time. Bye.
There are lots of things